What's up, what's up, what's up? So let's get into some things. As you saw the thumbnail, we're gonna be talking a little bit about the 2022 new Formula One car to be exact. And maybe how some of these changes are going to not only improve racing, there are other changes that will improve safety, but we can get into that in a different video. We're gonna talk about some go fast stuff, go fast, more competitive topics. But also I want to, at the end of this video, we're going to talk about certain teams and or drivers that will or will not benefit from these changes. So we already know that the car is heavier because of certain changes that have been implemented. By the way, Formula One and the FIA have done an excruciating, detailed of a job with trying to develop this new platform, all right? I mean, gobs and gobs of information and data and testing, all types of stuff. But there are some critical things that have been implemented that will improve not only racing for the teams, but racing as viewers watching the race. Certain things that maybe even some of you and me and other people have not complained about, but wish that would change because we felt like maybe that was inefficient or maybe that wasn't the best thing. So let's get into this. Downforce improvements, okay? Things that have been changed on the new car to improve downforce. The front wing, the rear wing or spoiler. All right, these things have been changed to improve the wake of the trailing car, okay? Because before there was a lot of dirty air coming off of the car in front, which therefore made it a little bit difficult, maybe not a little bit, it made it difficult for the chasing car. All right, so that meant if you weren't out front, and we saw this several times, that once a car got out front, they were in cleaner air, they ran cooler. A lot of that is not going to change. You can't change the temperature so much to the degree that I think it's gonna matter in that aspect, but changing the wake to give the other car less resistance, because everything, least path of resistance is the better path in some ways. In this way, yes. So changing that dirty air where that chasing car does not have to go through that improves their ability to not only overtake, but put a lot more pressure on the leading driver or the driver who is in front of them. The other thing is we got a new floor design that's gonna add hellacious amounts of downforce. Now I'll give you some percentages and you yourself might say, you don't think that's a lot, but trust me, you're talking about thousandths of a second matter in racing. Anything that they can do to improve tenths of a second matters. I mean, it matters. Time matters. Over an accumulative of time of laps, it's gonna show itself, especially if the driver can be consistent with its performance. So we're talking about in the old variation of the car was losing anywhere from 35 to 46% within a 10 to 20 meter distance, okay, of downforce. You're losing that. You're losing that downforce. Well, if you're losing downforce, that's gonna affect your ability to corner. That's gonna affect your ability to carry more speed into certain areas. That affects your ability. So the new platform of 2022 will only lose roughly 4 or 5 to 18% of downforce. That's nearly more than half of an improvement. I mean, it's nearly more than half. Nearly, not there yet, but think about it. 18, 46, like that's no, that's a hellacious amount of damn improvement, all right? So now you're only losing anywhere from single digits to 18, 20% of downforce versus 30 to 46 or 50%. That is going to be a great addition to the new car. That's going to be a great addition to the track. It's going to be a great addition to competitive atmosphere and just seeing more probably thrilling and thriving driving. So, really, Massey and the FIA didn't have to cheat Lewis by removing said drivers in between them and then allowing Max to pull up. They could have just really implemented the new 2022 car to make it a fair shootout. Maybe, I'm just saying, suggestions. So this also will increase for better battling. We want to see that. There are plenty of times where I've seen a chasing car and thought if they only had better aerodynamics or aerodynamics that were at least more blanketed across the field, they might have a better opportunity. We might see more changing. We might see more placement, like all of that. That's going to add value for us and other teams, which is going to segue into my point at the end of this video. So the next thing we're going into, which I love, are wheels and tires. I just had a custom set of SSRs made. I've had 2 custom sets of AG wheels made, and I love when they got into this because I felt that this is an area that is long overdue to be paid attention to. That wheel, that aspect ratio on the current tire of that car to me was just too girthy. Too girthy. A lot of times you can see the car coming into the corner and you will see what I call the yo-yo. You just see that tire, that wheel just shaking in and out because the aspect ratio is too big, all right? If you don't know what aspect ratio is, look it up because a lot of you get in my comment section saying I don't know what the hell I'm talking about and I don't know shit and I'm a dumbass. Well, if you don't know what the aspect ratio is, well, you're ignorant to something. We all are. Go do your research. Find out what aspect ratio is. So we have a wheel change going from 13 to 18 inches. That is another monumental drastic change. You're talking about 5 more inches of wheel diameter. That's more rotational weight, which I said in the beginning, we're gonna have changes. They're gonna add weight to the car. That's more rotational weight. But there are things that have also changed with that I think is a plus to this. Because now with this increased diameter of the wheel, we have a lower aspect ratio, which therefore means most of that yo-yo effect that you saw where the wheel is just sliding in and out of the tire on corners, and you can go watch videos, slow them down and check it out. That's gonna dissipate. But then what now happens is you have less of that, which in some ways gave you a little bit of sidewall roll, which kind of kept some on the track but didn't. But now you might be more likely to incline to see cars have more power slide opportunities. And not to say that that's an opportunity, but it's a situation that could occur anytime you have an aspect ratio that decreases. You therefore will have less tire roll and then basically a harder tire, and it could slide more. So that's a plus or that's a pro or con, which we will also get into at the end of the video. So another thing we're gonna have is wheel covers, which is something else that's gonna increase the air around and behind the vehicle, which therefore also leads into more and better opportunities for the chasing vehicles, which leads for more intense battles. It should lead to that. Now, we're gonna have to see if that's gonna be the case, but given that these dynamics and these fundamentals and these changes have occurred, these are things that we are likely to see. Another thing is the winglets, the weight control winglets, all right? Again, cleaning up that dirty air behind the leading car for the chasing car. Therefore, again, segueing into better opportunities for them to pass, better opportunities for them to put pressure on that car that they're chasing, better opportunities for us to see more aggressive battling in this new 2022 season. All right. Another thing is the FIA will now have access to the TPMS sensors and heat temperature control sensors, and well, not control sensors, because I believe they're going to lose that, which is something we'll talk about in another video as far as like safety and just things that are increasing for the environment and emissions. But the FIA will have more access to the tire reading systems. Okay, so now a lot of times what we saw last year, these tires were being run to a very dangerous point. We've even seen Lewis Hamilton finish a race beating the rest of the field. I think Max came in second, and he had a tire that completely came apart in the center. Like the sidewall, the wheel, it was completely just rolling inside of a shell of the tire. That man finished that race. Not to mention, I think he also came back from a ridiculous penalty they handed him in that race. Or maybe it wasn't, but it was one of those times where Lewis Hamilton just showed his greatness. All right, period, showed his greatness. And then they also will have a new fuel, 10% ethanol. We can go into that in a later vehicle. But now let's get to the meat of what my interest is. Not a concern, it's an interest. Will these changes, because now that you have these changes, you have teams that are having to get used to a new vehicle, used to new settings, used to new developments. This, in a way, can kind of equal the playing field initially. Because therefore, if you have better engineers, you got better drivers, you got better teams, you got better pit crews, And eventually that will show itself and take off. But at the same time, you could have the new birth of certain teams that might excel in this new environment. They may excel in this new environment. Teams like Haas, Williams, and Alpha, those bottom competing teams, could quite possibly break into that top 10. All right. Maybe it might not last long. Maybe it will, because we also have to look at this. Several of these bottom teams, bottom 20 teams, have received drivers from the top 10 placements. Okay. We got Bottas, who's going to Alpha. All right. He's not a great of a teammate, but he's a highly experienced driver. He finishes top 5 in points for the last for the last seasons, go back, because he's been with Mercedes. He finished top 5 in points. He has a great amount of experience with experienced engineers and a team staff. So he brings a lot to Alpha with those credentials, with that experience. That also, the fact of having these new changes by kind of equalizing the playing field and then getting an experienced driver that may have the ability to catch on to these changes a lot faster, because teams he was with in the past were more advanced than right now. That could help Alpha. They could quite possibly just break into the top 10 initially, or maybe throughout the rest of the coming up season. Let's also talk about Williams. Okay, Williams is another team that could benefit from these changes and equalizing the playing field, right? You have Albon, who also came from a top 10, top 5 team, okay? He was on AlphaTauri, went from AlphaTauri to Red Bull. So, period, he was in the top 10 competing teams on both of those, sister team, brother team, however you want to explain it. That's how I like to say it. AlphaTauri is the sister team to Red Bull. All right, just like the Marines are the sister division to the Navy. That's how it works. They ride in Navy shit. They get paid by the Navy. AlphaTauri, you have to, it's like the junior varsity, and Red Bull's the varsity team. It is what it is. Now we have another varsity and junior varsity setup with Mercedes and then Williams, okay? Because now we have Russell, who's gone up to Mercedes, right? And then Albon's collected, not saying it's from the same team, I'm saying Russell to Mercedes, from the sister team to the brother team. Albon's coming over to Williams, which Albon brings some experience. Now, Albon it's not that he's not a good driver. He does not have that competitive edge that I think he needs in order to be more competitive. He doesn't press enough. I don't want him to be reckless as Max Verstappen, but he needs to be more aggressive. And he is certainly going to need to be more aggressive in this Williams car if he's going to try to take advantage of any opportunity that might yield itself to him. So then we have Haas. Them Haas boys, you see my video I done on Haas. They're like the Dukes of Hazzard of Formula One. I believe it is in the contract. Like, if you go to a driver and you sign up for Haas, I believe it's in the contract that you have to at least commit to wrecking this car 2 to 3 times a season. If you're not, that's not Haas material. That ain't Haas material. If you ain't wrecking shit, you ain't racing. I think that's Haas's motive, because it doesn't matter who the drivers are. They have a high wreckage rate every season. It's ridiculous. But some of us, I don't give much credit to Schumacher because of his name just yet. I need to see evidence of him on the track performing at a high level. I haven't seen that yet. I believe that he was in the top 10 for the most wrecked cars last season. All right. I mean, that's not really yielding a great thing to his name, the Schumacher name, yet. Let's see if these changes implemented will also increase the Haas team. Maybe they might crawl into the top 10, maybe the first few races of the season, because of everybody's trying to get adjusted, and having a driver that carries the name Schumacher. I would believe that he is aggressive. I will believe that he's highly competitive. I believe that he will try to take advantage of any edge that is given to him. And this, quite frankly, is a sharp edge that is given to everybody. So let's see how they compete. These 3 bottom feeder, bicuspid, catfish teams could literally turn into top 10 teams for somewhat of the season or the duration of the season. And that, to me, is exciting to see if it happens. It just is. I mean, a lot of people have already expressed just wanting to see a new face be the champion, but it's not all about just seeing a new face. I don't give a fuck about new faces. I give a fuck about if you're the person that belongs in that throne You sit there until somebody can dethrone you, because I'm that type of motherfucker. Like, I just finished playing Monopoly yesterday, right? My family raved about how nobody beats them. And you know what? They decided to break out a new Game of Thrones Monopoly. GOT. The shit, right? I busted everybody's ass. Give me all the gold. Give me all the silver. You know what? You can't pay that bill because you landed on my fucking property with a castle. You know what? Give me all your property. You want to auction it back to the bank? You want me to pay you more than the bank's gonna pay you? I'm a beast when it comes to Monopoly. It didn't matter if it was a traditional Monopoly or GOT. That could be the same thing maybe with these changes. Maybe the top 10 teams don't change. Maybe because they have increased amount of experienced engineers, more money. Maybe they stay at the top, but there is a quite evident of hope that the bottom teams could turn into Cinderellas for some time of the season. And I'm excited to see that. So with that being said, that's what I wanted to come and talk about. The new changes are exciting to me. The next video, we will talk about safety regulations and stuff that have changed. By the way, be on the lookout. Something quite exciting coming. A couple of me and my other Formula One brothers from across the world. All right, check him out. Cameron, the F1 over there. Khalid is still working on his racing page. He's going to develop a kart racing team for his son and start that page up. We will be coming together as a collaboration to deliver you more broad perspectives and information from F1 to everything else. Be on the lookout for that when I launch it, when we launch it, and I go ahead and advertise it and let you all know. I hope you support it because I think it's going to be an awesome thing to have our 3 different personalities come together and just giving you more content, all right? So be safe, just build it, build muscles, don't make excuses, okay? Just stop making excuses. Whatever you're doing in your life, make an excuse, don't make it. Just do your best to try to achieve goals. All right, I'm out of here. Y'all be safe.